You've been dumb before, Charlie Brown, but this time you really did it. What a treat!
I guess you were right, Linus. I shouldn't have picked this little tree. Everything I do turns into a disaster. I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about. Lights, please. And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. And the glory of the Lord shone round about them. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not. For behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
Well, hello and welcome to the Christmas edition of Coroner Talk. So, if you're hearing this when it comes out live, it's just a couple of days before Christmas. And if you catch it after Christmas, well, I hope you had a great Christmas. I know that this is going to be the last episode of 2022. And by the time we are back on, since we're doing every other week, it will be 2023. So I wish you not only a great Christmas, but also a great New Year start. And I hope all of your next year is fantastic, and I hope you get it off to a great start. Now, if you're going to buy a gym membership, like many people do to get the year started off right, most gym membership, if you research this, die off by March, and people quit going. So most gyms make a lot of money the first December, January-ish of the year, and then they don't have to really have their equipment tore up because nobody shows up after March. So, yeah. So if you're going to buy it, continue to use it. That would be a great thing. Thank you for a wonderful year. I know it's been a very busy year for you and for me. I've met many of you on the road, a lot of classes that I've done, a lot of people that have come up and introduced themselves that listen to the show, and I so very much appreciate that. Every time I am somewhere and you see me there and you recognize me from the show, please come up and introduce yourself. I love meeting people. So today's episode is going to be about blood pattern. Now, it is a new online course that is just going through the approval process, so it should be up and probably, it's on the platform now live. We're waiting on ABMDI approval, and that seems to take a long time. But it is, if you don't need ABMDI approval, then it is up on the platform. If you want the ABMDI, you'll have to wait a few more weeks for them to get paperwork done. But we have one on there now that Jeff Gentry does on understanding blood patterns and what they can tell you at a crime scene. And it's about 4.5 hours, and it's a fairly large, in-depth course. Now, the new one we just done would be a prequel to that, and it's Introduction to Blood Pattern. And it's like a 2-hour course. So what I'm going to play today is a part of that, because the part I'm going to play is less visual. I will apologize up front that there probably is some reference to some pictures of which you won't see, but 99% of it will be just fine, and you're going to get some really good education about basic blood pattern stuff. And again, it's an excerpt from this other 2.5-hour class. And so it's live, it's ready on the platform. If you want to do that, just look for Intro to BPA or Intro to Blood Pattern Analysis, and you'll be able to find it. So without any further delay, let's jump into that training now.
Adjust your earbuds, turn up those speakers, and hang on. It's now time for this week's featured conversation.
Now we're going to get into the different type of patterns and the different type of stains. So the overall goal of BPA, and when I'm going out to a scene or when I'm doing a report, I think about this every time. So I want to be able to identify bloodstains and document them. So if that's all you can do at a scene, if that's your level of experience allows you just to identify and document bloodstains, that's fine. You're just still producing a fact-based report based on what you have identified and documented. And that's okay. And a lot of times that may be all that your department wants you to do, is just to identify and document the bloodstains. They may not want you to go and classify these bloodstains as like impact spatter or drip stains. They may want you to just simply identify and document, and that's okay. But then the next thing is you want to be able to classify them, if possible. Are they drip stains? Are they impact spatter? And then at the end, if you're able to, and your experience allows you to do it, explain how these bloodstains were created. Was it force applied to blood that projected blood up onto a wall, or was it force that created cast off onto a ceiling? So this is going to be our overall goal. Whenever you're doing blood pattern analysis or looking at bloodstains, try to keep this in mind. So we're going to look at this little pattern here. So first, just looking at it, you want to identify it. Yeah, it looks like blood. You might want to do some presumptive testing to see if it is blood. But if you've got a bloody body at the scene and you're going to end up doing DNA testing later, that might be enough. So just see what your department allows you to do, follow your policies. But let's say we've identified this as blood. So now we want to consider documenting it. You have to do photographs. You want to use scales, and we'll talk more about that. So then classifying it. How do you describe this? So most people, and before I had any blood pattern classes, I did the same thing. I'd just go in there and say, that's a lot of blood. And this is a lot of blood. It looks like just a mess to most. But when you really start considering the characteristics of the blood stain, then you can start better articulating how it was created. So let's take a look at this. So you got a volume of blood. So when I say volume of blood, I mean it's a lot of blood compared to like a little drip stain. So when you're talking about like an impact spatter pattern, you've got little tiny blood stains, like millimeter or less than a millimeter sized blood stains. So this is bigger. This is a larger volume. And the way we know it's a larger volume is because it's creating different effects on the surface. Okay, so it's on a vertical surface. How do we know that? Because there's flows. There's evidence that when this blood hit the surface, there was enough accumulated there that it started to flow or travel down this surface. That's important. So right away, you know this is a vertical or a sloped surface. That can be important when you're talking about body movement later. Okay, so you got flows down from this volume. So this is just strictly just looking at this blood stain. I have no idea what else happened in the scene. I don't know what the body looked like, but just describing the blood stain is important. Okay, so spines. Spines are these little projections that are coming off from this blood mass or this blood volume. So anytime that you have blood and a volume of blood that hits a surface all at once, and usually it's associated with force, you're going to get spines. So it could be blood that's dumped out onto a horizontal surface, or it could be blood that's projected onto a vertical surface. But these spines are important. That is usually created when there's force and a volume of blood. Okay, so just by looking at all these characteristics, looking at the location, I've identified this. I would identify this as a projected pattern, either a gush or a spurt, and I'll talk more about what that is. So this is kind of the mechanism that it would be created. I love this little picture. I don't know, this was online. I don't know who made this thing, but this is kind of how this type of a pattern would be created. So when a vessel or an artery is lacerated, the pressure within the body, the force is going to project that blood out. And again, only if you have, a vertical surface within close proximity, or this could even be on a horizontal surface if nothing blocks its path. But these are kind of the mechanisms that would be created. So usually you get that from like a stab wound or an incised wound to the neck or arm or something where there's a vessel that's going to be lacerated. This can also be created when somebody coughs up blood, but that's a little different mechanism. You might have different stain types that would help you identify if blood was coughed up as opposed to projected out of a wound. So fundamental principles of BPA. What allows us to analyze these? How do we know this? So I've probably, I can't even think of how many stains I've created, blood stains and blood stain patterns. You'll see on my TikTok and my YouTube, I actually draw my own blood and use my own blood for experiments. I know it's safe, clean, kind of weird, but I've had experience in phlebotomy, so I feel very comfortable drawing my own blood. But I like using my own just because it's an unlimited resource. But I know how the blood's going to react because I experiment with it all the time. I'm hitting it with different things. I'll show you a picture of I hurt myself, and so I let it bleed. So anytime that I get a little injury, nosebleed, a little cut on my finger, I just let it bleed and see what the blood is going to do. Put it on different surfaces, see how it's going to react. But the fundamentals of blood pattern is it's going to act like a fluid. It's going to act like water. We all know what water does. We all know what a glass of wine does when you spill it. So blood's going to act like a fluid. That's what allows us to make these predictions about what's going to happen when it hits a surface. Okay. And then we should be able to reproduce these things. Every single scene that you go to, every single blood pattern you create is going to be different, but they should have similarities. So it'd be unreasonable to think that we could recreate every blood stain or every blood stain pattern that we see, but we should be able to get something similar, something that would try to explain the mechanism that those patterns or circumstances were created. But again, it's impossible to recreate it identical. And so some people have talked about recreation and experimentation, and it's not reasonable to think that, if you have an impact pattern on a wall with a bat, that you can recreate that identical, because you're never going to get that exact same set of circumstances. You're never going to know exactly how that person was moving or how fast that bat was going. But we should be able to get pretty close. We should be able to get a general idea. So the actions of blood should be reproducible. Okay, and then blood, of course, has an adhesive property. I made the mistake one time as a death investigator trying to help somebody clean up a mess on a patio. I tried to help them clean up a patio with washing it down, and that just made things 100% worse. And I ended up just covering it up with dirt. It took me about an hour out of the scene. So it is not easy to clean up. So most times, if you got a suspect that's trying to do a cleanup job, they usually do a pretty bad job of it. And they usually do just enough to make it look presentable, but then there's always going to be some left. So there's something that's always there for us to test. Okay, so body's reaction to blood loss. We all know what exsanguination is. It's when you die from blood loss. So it's when you get to about 40% or so that your body it's not gonna recover. So when you're looking at a bloody scene, what might be a lot of blood to some people may not be a lot of blood to us or death investigators or blood analysts, because we realize that at about 40% is when you're going to die. So you can dump quite a bit of blood out onto a surface before you die, but just keep that in mind. It's about 40% or so that your body is going to start shutting down, and you're going to die from exsanguination. All right, so what is a lot of blood? So here we've got a couple stains on a counter. You got some up higher and then some lower. Is this a lot of blood? What type of wound would create this? This was just a little cut to a hand. So you've got drip stains, you got some flows down the surface. We'll talk about those. That, in my opinion, is not a lot of blood. But you have to be able to articulate that too. What are the mechanisms that are going to create these type of stains? And is it a lot of blood compared to maybe a larger blood volume? So what type of stains are these? How are these created? It looks like it's on a vertical surface. You do have some flows here. This is actually impact spatter. So it's depending on the angle that the blood stains hit a surface, you might get circular stains if the impact spatter hits at a 90-degree angle, and then you'll get elliptical stains if it hits at more of an angle. And I'll show you why that is. But is this a lot of blood? How much blood do you need to create an impact spatter pattern? Okay, so I would definitely say, looking at this looks like a lot of blood. You've got a huge mess. Now, I'm sure as deputy coroners, you guys have all seen pretty awful messes like this, but just take a look at this for a second, because the goal here, if you can just go in there and say, these are blood stains. This is an overall length, width, taking some close-up photographs. That might be sufficient. But what if you need to do further analysis? What if you need to really try to figure out, where did an assault begin? Where did it end? What happened after the assault or during it? That can possibly be done with these type of stains. So you've got a big mass here. You've got volume with flows. You have blood that looks like it's projecting out from this center area. And then you've got blood that's accumulated on the floor, on the horizontal surface. And then here, you've got something. I mean, if you've got this much blood, you have to also think about, where did that blood source go? Did it get up and walk away? Did it get carried away? Did it get dragged out of there? And as we all know, coroner transport is not always, real forgiving or real conscious of what the scene is supposed to look like. And so here you see a transfer that would be consistent with a body.
All right, I'm going to end it there. I know you got quite a bit out of that. It's great training. The whole 2.5-hour class is fantastic. Lots of pictures, lots of demonstrations, things that, well, not actual demonstrations, but demonstrations that were made and then shown, crime scene stuff. It's a really a great intro course. So even if you've been around, now if you've been analyzing blood patterns at crime scenes for 3 or 4 years, then maybe that course isn't for you. But if you don't analyze yet, or if you haven't done any in a while, the course is great because it teaches you as an investigator how to look at blood patterns and determine some pretty good answers right off the bat. And then, does this look right or wrong? And then how to document it correctly in case you don't have an analyst come to the scene. Or you may be know enough to say, yeah, this is not right. I need an analyst. So the course is a fantastic course. So I invite every one of you to take it that wish to learn more about blood pattern analysis. And we're, when it comes to the online courses, we are adding new courses as fast as we can. We are re-recording some of the old courses. Some of the courses have been around for many years. And although the information's fine, the information's the same, we do a better job now than we did in the past. And so we're trying to re-record some, better audio, better sound, just better video. And we are always improving here. So, be on the lookout for some of those improvements and things like that. So we're always working on getting courses changed out. So again, as I said in the beginning of the show, I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a great start to your new year. And remember, if there's anything that I can do or my team can do, all you need to do is reach out. We're here to help you. We are servants, and we're here to serve you in every way that we can. So find a way to bless somebody. This is still the blessing time of the year, and we need to be a blessing to the world around us, whether it be just smiling at somebody or paying somebody's electric bill. Find some way to bless somebody. And above all, until next year, everybody, be safe.
Thanks for listening to Coroner Talk, a DSPN media production. Visit our website at coronertalk.com. And be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/coronertraining. 3617 1024 scene en route to morgue.